Good morning, everybody, and happy Tuesday. It is time to talk travel. I'm Desiree Miller, and I'm a travel writer. I host a couple websites. I like to do this vlog every single Tuesday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So join me each week if you want to learn travel tips and get the inside scoop on all things travel. This morning's segment is different than what I set out to do. I was actually starting a segment on travel fees when I stumbled across a story about a woman being charged extra because she had too many letters in her last name, which, listen, the airlines are taking a beating these days for all of the fees. When you go down the list, like checked bags, that's a given. We've got food, we have drinks, which, okay, you know what? You probably should have. We used to get free snacks. Not all airlines offer that anymore. Choosing your seat, checking in at the airport. Some airlines actually charge you if you check in there instead of checking in online. Priority boarding, if you want to be the first on the plane. Booking through a representative. I can go on and on and on and on about the fees. And I started looking into this and thinking, what the heck? Why are we being charged all these fees? And I did a TV segment on this probably 2 years ago where I interviewed the president of Airlines for America. And he told me this is just like going to a ball game where you pay more if you want a seat closer to the field. You pay extra if you want snacks and what have you. If you want, these days you pay for a blanket or a pillow. If you want a souvenir like a hat or a shirt, you pay for it. So the American Association for American Airlines was saying, listen, this is just a la carte. This is how it works now. And so I started poking around online, and it was super interesting to me because, I really wanted to blast everybody for the airline fees until I started looking really deeply into why it is they charge it. And it's our fault. It's on us. It's on us because here's the deal. Back in the 70s, before the airlines were deregulated, hi, Heidi. Hi, Kimry. Kimry, you are a travel guru. If you want to jump in on this live with me, I'm happy to. Well, I don't know if I can have you join from my computer, but definitely comment and I'll jump in. But so anyways, I started poking around and I discovered in 1974, before airlines were deregulated, it cost a minimum. Okay, the airlines were legally not allowed to charge less than $1,442 for a flight from New York City to LA. That's in 1974. Then they deregulated everything and the prices came way down. We got so much more competition into the game, which really is what it's all about, right? As long as somebody else can offer the same airfare, or the same itinerary. So if it's New York to LA, you've got lots of airlines doing this. But say you're just flying from, I don't know, Atlanta to Vero Beach, which that's my hometown. I don't even know if they still have flights coming to Vero. It's going to be a whole lot more money because you don't have as many airlines flying in. So the competition is one of the reasons that the prices came way, way down, as long as you do still have competition. So you have that, but it's, I literally, you can also credit or blame, depending on how you want to look at this. You can also credit the fact that you can now book airfare through all of these other services. Well, actually, not necessarily book, but you have all of these other services pointing out the less expensive airfares. So Expedia, Travelocity, Airfare Watchdog, all of the sites that I love, that I told you about last week when I was explaining how to find cheaper airfares. All of these sites are going to tell you, hey, today you can get a rate to Hawaii. I booked it 2 weeks ago, my trip to Kauai, for under $500, and I was so proud until last week when it dropped to $350. But the point is, all of these sites are now telling you where you can get less expensive airfare, which drives the competition down. And it's this whole game. Here in Atlanta, I always get frustrated when I see the deals because I'm in Atlanta, where huge, massive airport. We should be able to fly anywhere for super cheap. Instead, when I see most of the deals, it's Boston, it's New York, it's LA. And I've been told that's because Delta has such a stronghold here, and Delta won't allow the prices to drop too far, which is kind of interesting, because again, now there's a lot more. We've got Southwest that's been flying out of here for years. And I honestly was a Delta diehard until Southwest started offering the great rates. And then I switched over, and I like Southwest. There's also JetBlue that has started out of here. And I've taken a couple JetBlue flights because, again, the rates are great. This is where I bring it back around to being on us. Because here's the deal. When we're going to book an airfare, we're looking at all these different airlines, and we're looking at the bottom line price for what it's going to cost. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to go with the very least expensive. Unless, like, I also have to look at schedules. Like, I'm a fly first thing in the morning kind of gal. I'm happy to get up at 4 or 5 a.m., get to the airport and get the first flight out because I know I won't have delays or less likely to have delays, things like that. So I'm all about, and I like to get to my destination so that I have the whole day to play, that sort of thing. So really, we go with the least expensive. But what they've done now is taken all of the extras out of that base airfare so that they can be more competitive. So when Delta or JetBlue or Southwest, when they're listing the prices, they're bare bottom. This is it to get us to book that flight. Then once we're in the process, inevitably, it's another $30 for a checked bag, or it's, 25, well, maybe not that much, $13, $14 for a seat choice. So if you want all those things, then the price goes up, but you've already locked yourself in on the least fare. Now, here's what some people are proposing, and I don't think this is going to ever fly. You like my tie-in? Came to me right as I said it. A lot of people are saying, no, you know what? We are we are deal divas. We love to get a bargain. So a lot of people are saying, go ahead and put the seat price, the food price, the Wi-Fi, all of those things back in the base airfare, and then let us, as we're booking the flight, instead of get angry that, oh my gosh, I got this great fare, but now I have to pay another $90 in fees. What's the deal? Instead, they're saying, start at $90 higher, and then let us go through and knock off. Well, I don't care where my seat is, or I don't need to eat on this flight. I'll just bring my own sandwich, where we knock off the price and get it down to bare bottom. So it's kind of interesting. I think it's just a psychological thing, but some people are proposing, let's go back that way so that it feels like I'm saving and I'm getting all these good deals. That said, here's what I started when I started digging through and unraveling why we have these fares and what they are. It was really interesting, and I'm going to put a link. I'll put it when I'm done. There's a link to a video that I think it's called Wendover Productions did that helped me understand this so clearly. It's about 10 minutes long, totally worth watching if you really want to understand the fees and why they exist and what they do. But it essentially, it walks you through all of it. When you go down the fees for the airlines, gas, I think gas was over 30% of the fees. So gasoline, which in the end, when you look at it, is really inexpensive. I think they pay like $1.30 a gallon, where we pay more. It averages out, but gas is a massive part of it. Now, remember, if we were going like, I don't know, LA to New York or New York to LA, if we just keep with that example, we'd be paying over $300 in gas just to get there. So when flights are $300, that doesn't even take into account the maintenance and the toll it takes on our car. Where, if you look at the experts, they say if you're driving that distance, it's probably going to be about a $300 D value on your car, based on, the mileage you're going to put on and the all of the wear and tear. So anyway, so that trip, if you really look at it, breaking it down that way, you're looking more like $640. But for the airlines, they're flying 150 people instead of, say, you could fit 5 people in your car. And again, this video I'm going to put the link to explains it really, really well, but it shows that it's actually a better deal. So the airline fees, let's go down. You've got the gas. You have to pay the pilots, okay? You have airport fees. So, whatever they have to pay for the rent space for each gate, which is really interesting. A lot of the airports won't even disclose it. Taxes, which vary even by country. I know I've booked some airfares. The steals, on Just Fly Airline. I remember last year when I did the Stockholm to Paris flight, I think my actual ticket was $7. All the other fees were $80. Isn't that insane? Insane. So you've got the fees, like the taxes, like I talked about. Or, I mean, those are the taxes. Then the fees, like the 9/11 fee, the security fee. There are all these additional fees that they end up paying. So when you break it down, oh, okay, and I'm going to keep on going. Their expenses, the actual airplane, and these people who did this video, the Wendover Productions, they really broke it down to her. This is the price of a plane. This is how much it costs per flight. This is how much it costs per passenger on that flight, assuming you have a full plane. So in some cases, when they broke it all down, and I'll keep going through the expenses, but just to stick with this point, in some cases, when they broke it all down, the airline was making maybe $10 per person on the flight. And that was conservative. And that's a full flight. So you got to understand, they're not always making a ton, and a lot of these fees are out of their control, and the cost. So keep going down the cost. The service life. I learned this for each airplane. The service life of an airplane totally depends on how many flights. Okay, not even how many. It is how many flights. It's the flight cycle. So how many times the plane is actually pressurized, because that's where the wear and tear is on the bolts and the cracks and all those things we never even want to think about. But it's not how many hours in the sky. It's how many times that plane has pressurized. So really, how many flights. So that's why you'll see a lot of the long haul flights that go, to Europe, what have you, are older planes, because they haven't had the same wear and tear. They've had like a flight a day. It might have been an 8-hour flight, but it's only one flight, where the ones back here that go back and forth to Orlando 4 times a day, those are going to have a lot more wear and tear. So they require more maintenance. It's parts, there's inspections, there's component overhauls. And then there's the non-flying part that the airlines have to take into consideration. So you've got these, the management staff. You have the administrators, the customer service people, actually working at the airport. They have maintenance people. They have PR. Then they've got to pay benefits on top of that to all these people who work for them. Then they've got, rent for the building. So say Delta here, they've got a big headquarters office they've got to pay for. Insurance. This was interesting, and I don't know how old this stat is, but it said each plane, and this was, I forget even what kind of plane, but the plane itself, the insurance on one plane was $106,000 that year. $106,000, which I'm like, hey, that's an airplane. That's pretty good, right? Because think of but when you have hundreds of planes, that's significant. So all of it adds up. And when you break it all down and you compare it to what it costs for us to get in the car and drive, we actually are paying less than than we would if we were just driving it. Now, and that doesn't take into account even time. So for me, I always have this struggle when I drive from Atlanta to Vero Beach, which I mentioned was my hometown. That's about an 8-hour drive, 8.5 hours in the car. It's a long drive, okay? When in the air, it's like an hour and a half if I fly to Orlando, another hour from Orlando to Vero. But you got to think about the fact here in Atlanta, you have to get there an hour before. You've got to allow at least 30 minutes for security, and that's if you're TSA pre-check. There's this whole weighing the differences. Now, for me, it's a no-brainer if you're going cross-country, or if I'm going to New York, I would not just get in my car and drive there unless I was staying for a week or something. But the point is, we really are getting a good deal for what we're paying. And again, when you compare it to what it was in 1974, remember, $1,442. They were not legally allowed to charge less. $1,442 to go from New York City to LA. No wonder very few people flew. I saw a statistic. It said in 1965, no more than 20% of Americans had ever flown in an airplane. 1 in 5, 20%. Can you imagine? And then by 2000, half of the country had taken at least one round trip flight a year. And the average was 2 round trip tickets. And I'm sure that was 2000. Now I think in 2018, I know people who are going every month. And again, I'm more in a travel community, so it's going to be higher, but I have a harder time thinking of people who haven't flown than those who have. And so I love it. I personally, I'm a flying queen. If I can fly anywhere, if I could get my own plane and do it. I was at a conference 3 years ago where Sikorsky's grandson, Sikorsky creates helicopters. He's got a whole Sikorsky Airline helicopter company. Military uses them. And Sikorsky's grandson was talking at this event and was saying that we were all going to have airplanes or helicopters in our own driveways by a certain year. And that might be a little outlandish, you know? I mean, I don't know that I want everybody flying because, again, rules. I mean, it's like boating, you know? Everybody doesn't follow the rules or doesn't even know the boat. They get behind the boat and they start driving. They don't know. You got to keep 100 feet away from people who are idle. At any rate, whole other side subject. But I just felt like today, to be fair, since we were talking fees and since that's where I started this, everybody wants to whine about how many fees there are. But I'm telling you, I'm going to bite my tongue next time because, in all honesty, I love getting that bare bones, bare bottom fare and being able to jump on an airline, especially, I mean, now you've got these budget airlines, Wow Airlines, Frontier, I mean, Spirit. Nobody loves these. Everybody, you know, they whine about, you know, oh, I have to have a small bag, but that's the price you pay, guys. I mean, when you're saving, otherwise you can jump on, you know, the luxury airlines and pay the price. Just, it's a better, I'm all about get me there and then let me use my money on the adventures. I'm not a foodie, so I'm not going to I don't care about sitting in the restaurants. I'm going to spend all of my money doing the fun things I can find in that town. So the less I have to spend to get there, the more money I have to spend having fun, right? Isn't that the way it should work? Anyways, I'm interested to hear your opinion on this. If you think airlines should go back to where they offer a higher fare, but then we back prices out, or if you think that maybe this is really the way. I mean, I think it's working. I do wonder what it's doing to these airlines, though. I think that, you know, and as business models, you see some, they go under, and we saw so many mergers, especially, gosh, right after 9/11. So it's kind of interesting to think about, but at least now you understand it. I'm going to put the link so you can watch that video I was mentioning. Beyond that, you guys have a great day. Enjoy your week. Again, I love to talk travel right here every Tuesday, 10 a.m. So join me if you can. Have a great week.